Hello! So we are in the Kodiak and we are in the Azores today. We're going to fly around the largest island in the Azores archipelago called Isla de Sao Miguel. We are at João Paulo, which is the airfield down on the southwest of the island. So if I just zoom out, you can see in relation to the other Azores islands where we are. So we're at João Paulo. We're going to fly anti-clockwise around the island, so we're going to fly out to the southeast, and there's a port here at Ponta Delgada which we will see. I do have the Seafront Simulations boats and ships add-on for this area, so we will see boats in the harbour and ships and various things going on, which will be quite entertaining, I guess, to watch. So can I remember how to start up the Kodiak? This is the big question. So we pull the shut-off valve down there, we open the valves overhead for the fuel, we turn the master battery switch on, we turn the beacon light on, and make sure that we can put the prop condition on high. It won't actually affect it too much. The fuel condition stays on feather, and then we can just go and hit the starter, or we should be able to, and watch what happens. And hopefully we won't blow the engine to pieces. So just waiting for the engine to spool up. So then, once the engine is spinning, I'm just going to slide across the cockpit to do that. We can move the fuel condition to low idle, and it should ignite. And it's doing so, which is good. So then we can turn off the starter. We can turn the nav lights on, turn the taxi lights on, we don't need to worry about any of the anti-ice. It's a lovely warm day. Don't need the pitot heats until we get to the runway. We can turn the generator and the alternator on though. The starter switch has gone back to off. Okay, so turn the avionics and auxiliary buses on. So that gives us the cabin environmental control system. Okay, so off the parking brake, and we've got a small amount of positive thrust immediately, which is good. We'll calibrate the altimeter. We're going to go and set the target altitude for the autopilot, ready for later. I seem to remember that the Kodiak doesn't default to a pitch, or sorry, to a pitch hold when you turn on the autopilot. So it will dive towards the floor if you haven't set a target altitude. So we're going to go for say 3,500 feet while we're wandering around the islands. So we don't need much runway, so we're going to turn straight out onto the runway here with the Kodiak. It's very manoeuvrable on the runway. Okay, so parking brake back on for a moment, come back down. Going to go and turn on the pitot heats. We'll turn on the landing lights below 10,000 feet. Turn the strobes on. We don't need anything else, I don't think. Okay. Off the parking brake. One other thing we need to do is move the fuel condition lever all the way forwards. So we'll go at this point and be very hazardous and press the head tracking. In fact, I've actually turned it back off, but okay, just gently rotate, press the head tracking again, press F. So what is going a beep? Okay, we're looking good. Okay, so out over the side of the aeroplane, what can we see on climb out? There's some big tankers around. Cruise ship, container ship, some pleasure boats in the harbour. So we'll come back to 50% throttle. We're accelerating through 130 knots. So we'll just circle around, go and have a look. I've never actually flown around the Azores before, so this is a bit of a journey for me as well, a journey of discovery, I guess. So behind this breakwater there are some pleasure boats, by the look of it. Makes a huge difference, doesn't it, having things going on in the harbours. The big boats moored up. Look at the size of that tanker next to the coaster next to it. It's huge. Just trying to see behind the pillar here. There we go, you can see them over there through the gap. The coaster's tiny compared to the tanker, isn't it? Okay, there's a couple of pleasure boats out in the bay. Okay, so we'll just continue our left turn until we are lined up along the southern edge of the island. And what we should be able to do is just put the yoke back in. If we just trim the elevator momentarily, let's go and turn the autopilot on. If I can press it, the Tobii Eye Tracker is being a so-and-so today. So we also want to then go vertical speed and ask it to climb us, instead of diving at the floor, at 1,000 feet a minute to our target altitude of 3,500 feet. Let's sit up and look over the nose. We'll also go and center the heading bug on the direction we're going, because it's just doing roll hold at the moment. So it's wing leveling essentially. When it's within a few degrees of horizontal, it will just goes to wing leveling. So we've pressed the heading knob to put the heading marker into the middle here, and then we'll go and press the heading button here, which puts us into heading mode on the autopilot, so the airplane's going to track the heading we've requested. So we don't have to think anymore. We can just sit up, look at the airplane and enjoy the view along the way. So this town here on the edge of the peninsula is Lagoa. Then there's the Janela do Inferno, which is this big forest up on the hillside behind it. So I'm guessing that's up here. A little bit further along maybe. It's difficult to see at this climb rate, isn't it? Although we're going very slow, I'm going to increase the throttle. You can see the aeroplane starting to wallow. So I'm just opening the throttle up, so let's keep an eye on the numbers over here. If we push the throttle all the way forwards, what happens to the torque? Look at the torque climbing. It's going to go, yeah, the NG's gone into the red. I'm just pulling it back away from max. So coming up to 2,500 feet, 1,000 feet a minute, we're accelerating out through 130 knots now, we're looking good. Yeah, this area up here was the place we were looking at on the map. Yeah, the Janela do Inferno. Just right here. So it's quite interesting, isn't it? There's a number of calderas along the map. So we'll get to see some of them along the way. So what we could do is turn in, so if we do a 45-degree turn from here, so we need to turn the heading bug. I'm just going to turn off the head tracking for a moment. Yeah, we're getting quite fast. Pull the throttle back. Put the head tracking back on, and we can see the the lake in the caldera of this ancient old volcano. Should have a look from outside. Just going to check the volume levels, so yeah, you can hear me over the top of the airplane, that's fine. It's very cool, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is come off the autopilot for a moment, turn us around the edge of the caldera, a steep turn, keep an eye on the airspeed because we went nose up as we pulled into the turn. Okay, so we're going to pull the engines back a bit to 50%. Or engine, I should say. Single engine aircraft. Put the autopilot back on. So this is interesting, look. So it's gone for altitude hold at 3,500, but it's... how is it going to get there? Because we haven't told it how. This is always the stuff that fascinates me. So it's going for 500 feet a minute descent rate. Okay, that's fine. Okay, let's start a left turn to follow the coast again. So we're going to move the heading bug. Go for 100 degrees. Should take us out nicely along the coast here. It's nicely modelled, isn't it, the scenery? So let's have a look at the map and see where we are. We've just flown over the top of a church. There's another caldera just coming up on the left and a couple of smaller, could almost be impact craters, couldn't they? But no doubt they are results of volcanic activity at some point. So it'd be interesting to see them. You can see this natural bowl here. Huge caldera. Let's go and skip across the cockpit so we can see this a bit easier. This part of the world must be so fascinating for people that work with, you know, geology and geography and those sort of subjects. Any more boats around? There's a couple of pleasure boats around, but no big ships out there. So we're at 3,500 feet now. Engine inlet is on normal. We didn't use the inertial separator because we took off from a nice clean runway. In fact, does this even have an inertial separator? It's a Kodiak, isn't it? I don't think it does. Okay. Off around the edge of the island. So we're going to go straight across this bay to the headland and then turn back in and follow the coastline. turn off head tracking for a while so I can look around without the camera corkscrewing all over the place. There's a little settlement down here, so that will be Pavoacau. That's probably not how you pronounce it, and I apologise for that. It's an interesting one in the inlet down here as well that we're just flying over. It must be so remote living out here. Isla de Terra is just around the headland. I wonder what that is all about. And then Faya de Calhau is a little bit further along a castle, so should we start descending and see what we can see down there? So let's come off the autopilot. And put the head tracking back on so we can look around easily. So holding about 125 knots in the descent, which is fine, dropping 2,000 feet a minute. Just going to open the engine up a little bit. We can descend more steeply into here to get a good look at the inlet. I always find these kinds of places really fascinating, you know, where there's pockets of civilization in the most remote of areas. Is that a catamaran down there? Looks like one, doesn't it? Excuse me. Okay. Gentle right turn just to follow the coast. So, we saw on the map a castle, Faya de Calhau. It's just down here. Obviously it's not modelled because it's just using the AI stock buildings. I wonder if this is it here maybe. You can sometimes tell by looking at the ground where the AI hasn't picked it up, where there are special buildings. Not always. Okay, opening the throttle a little bit. We're losing speed as we're climbing back out. There we go. Running NG at 99%, which is not brilliant, but it will do. We're not carrying any cargo today. Okay, so making our way up the eastern edge of the island. So we'll have quite a few little villages to see along the north coast. Should we cut the corner off and go and skim over the farmland along the way? Just dropping the throttle a little bit so we can descend without accelerating too much. You are getting worryingly fast though.
500.
Not looking for unmarked airfields at all, honest. Should look from outside. Okay, so what village are we passing at the moment? Santo Antonio. Very picturesque little villages, aren't they? The next one will be Algarvia, then on to Achada, up on the headland over here. Sorry for that, I just scratched my eye and it threw the Tobii off enormously. Keeping an eye on the airspeed. I know we were gaining altitude quite quickly then, which obviously means bleeding off speed. Okay, let's get this back on the autopilot. So heading mode, or sorry, straighten up the heading bug, and then autopilot on. We should be able to just go for altitude hold mode. But we probably need to dial out. This is where the head tracking really does become a huge failure. We need to get rid of some of the altitude. So let's go for, yeah, 2,500 feet actually that we're at is fine. So let's just cycle the altitude. Stop it flashing. Let the airplane fly itself along for a little while. It's being thrown around, isn't it? So where's the wind coming from? Oh, yeah, we've got an onshore breeze, look. So it's hitting these hills and kicking straight up and hitting us. So we've got one choice really to get out of the turbulence, and that's to stay a little bit further away from the coast, so we don't get hit by that updraft where the air is hitting the coastline. If we were looking to go slope soaring, this would be the perfect day for it. Okay, so Lomba de Maya is our wing just here. Then Maya is the next little settlement down here. And on to Porto Formoso, which is the spit of land we can see just over here. So this is Maya. If you have a look from inside, we can get a bit closer look at the town as we go past. It's very cool, isn't it? The fact that we can do this and just go exploring the world in Flight Simulator really is good fun. Okay, so there's a bigger town coming up as we come past the headland, Ribeira Grande, or Grande. I'm always aware that people pronounce Grande wrong because they take it as read that it's going to be in the French or Spanish form, and then you get someone like Ariana Grande comes along, and everybody was calling her Ariana Grande. And it was wrong. She was caught on camera talking about her grandparents and called them Grande, not Grande. But she never actually corrected anybody for the way they were saying her name, which I thought was quite, well, not odd, but just didn't want to have the conversation, I guess. Okay, so here's that town just coming up, you can see down here. So this is Ribeira Grande. Ribeirinha is just below us right now. Okay, so there is a pretty major volcanic feature up ahead, so we're going to tune in the VOR 11120 to fly straight towards it. So let's see if I can remember how it works in this aircraft, shall we? So CDI mode has to go to, it was already on the correct mode, wasn't it, lock 1. So then we need to tune nav 1 on the radios. So to do that, as far as I remember, we can just use this, can't we? So we want 11120. And then switch that over to active. The course deviation indicator will illustrate the direction we should be going. So there's the direction to the feature, so then if we press nav, the aeroplane should fly us straight to it. On the course of about 290 degrees. So it's obviously a bit higher than we are. This interestingly though, look. This 11120. Okay, yeah, the aeroplane's just correcting and turning back left again. I was just looking at this course this was taking, it was wrong. Obviously it's fighting with gusting winds coming in, look, they're all over the place. So I'm going to pull the throttle back a little bit, because we're a little bit quick, and where the gusting is happening, we could overstress the airframe very easily. So let's also go and get another 1,000 feet of altitude. So I'm going to turn the head tracking off so we're not bobbing and weaving around like a boxer, which will give us half a chance of going up to 3,500 feet. And then we'll go to vertical, let's do flight level change and see what it does. So I'm going to go full throttle. So it's climbing at 1,300 feet a minute, 1,400. We're getting a warning because I'm overstressing the RPM, so let's pull the speed back. That's interesting, isn't it? Just pulling it back on the primary controls here. So the propeller, or prop, the prop RPM lever was not affecting this. Does that mean it's broken? Anyway, I'm going to miss out on seeing the caldera if we don't get a move on. So it's going to be just over this brow of this hill. So I'm going to come off the autopilot anyway. Now you can see it here, look, right in front of us. So I'm going to gently turn right and we'll fly around the rim and then go back in towards the airfield to land. It's pretty huge, isn't it? There's a town down in there. Sidades, is that? Sidads? It's pretty cool, isn't it? There's a smaller caldera inside it, look. We're going too fast. So let's pull the throttle back, lose a little bit of speed. Very deceiving around here because obviously nothing is flat below us other than the ocean, because the caldera itself is on a slope. It's easy to lose sight of where you are in relation to it. Very, very cool, isn't it? Okay, so we'll make our way back to the airport. João Paulo. So we'll head for the coast and then follow it in. Everything for speed. Yeah, I'm not getting too much speed up on this descent down the side of the island. Forteras is just down here on the coast then. Okay, what altitude was the airfield? Can anybody remember? I didn't actually take much notice. So it's only at 300 feet above sea level. Okay, so we're at 1500 at the moment, so yeah, we can see it directly in front of us, look. So it would make more sense for us to come in from this side given the wind. Oh, actually the wind has turned while we've been in the air, but it's only a few knots, so it won't make any difference. We're going to come straight in when we want to. So let's start managing speed. First stage of flaps. So the puppy lights say we're too high at the moment. So we'll just let the aircraft drift lower on the approach. Hopefully without gaining too much speed. Yep, there we go, 1 red light. 2 red lights, so we're pretty much on the glide slope, so we just need to worry about the runway centre line now. Losing speed, so I'm going to increase throttle. Notice the kick left there, that's the slipstream effect, which is modelled quite aggressively in the Kodiak. Okay, should be able to come off at the next exit, so we'll just sit up so we can see it easily. Going to turn off left. There's some ground crew stood over there waiting for us. Should be able to... I've cut the engine anyway. I pulled the wrong lever as I looked down with the mouse quickly. I was going to try and... so we're freewheeling. I was going to try and pull the throttle condition back to low idle, but it's fine. There we go. Okay, parking brake on. I'm going to turn the head tracking off because it's driving me around the twist again. Some of the aircraft give you very, very small windows of opportunity to do anything. Yeah, it can be quite frustrating. These will not release now, which is really useless. That one will, that one won't. So do I have to come over here to click it? There we go. And turn the power off. There we go. Flight's a good one. So this door does open and there is clipping, so we can't walk through it, which is a shame. So we'll just look from over here if the rendering lets us. So there we go, that was a quick look at the Azores, or one of the islands in the Azore chain in Flight Simulator with the Kodiak. Haven't flown the Kodiak in ages, I really should use it more often, it's quite good. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you again soon.